Well, this is truck 10 here, and we have done a bunch of work to this truck to get it ready for chopping first cutting. They backed it out the door here the other day, and it was making somewhat of a clunking noise. They thought maybe they had a U-joint that was out of whack because it ended up getting just about a whole new drive line put into it. Back during the winter, this truck was either froze to the ground or the brakes were rusted on, froze on, what have you. And one of the guys tried to break it loose. And when he did that, he screwed up some driveline components. The hanger bearing or carrier bearing that's on this back portion ended up breaking the yoke on that, and a U-joint on the back side where it hooks to the rear differential. And they ended up having to take the whole drive line out, and in doing so, they realized that the yoke off the transmission had one of the, there's like a little piece of stuff in the yoke to keep the U-joint from coming out the side. That was bad. So we've done a lot of work on the drive line on this. Jason ended up putting a turbo on it because the exhaust manifold was leaking and the turbo was bad. So it's got a brand new exhaust manifold, brand new turbo. Exhaust system is basically new from the front right to the back. It does have a used looking muffler on there, but that was new here last fall. The oil pan was leaking. He ended up pulling the oil pan off, put a new oil pan gasket on it. Did a bunch of work to it, put a new shifter boot on there. This had a transmission put in it back in, I think Jared did that in like October or something. And they ended up working from the front to the rear. They got the lights all going. They had to replace a couple of the hoses here for the tailgate cylinders. They backed it out of the shop, realized it had a noise to it, and they thought maybe there was a U-joint that just wasn't clipped in correctly. They checked the drive line all out, couldn't find nothing wrong with it. Jared took it for a test drive today. He kind of knows what rear end problems are like. Heard a little clicking and clacking noise, so we have jacked the truck up, and we'll show you what this sounds like. Go ahead and start it up, Jared. So we have determined that we've got a power divider that has a broken tooth or something. We've got the axle tube pulled out of this right-hand side because it seemed to make more noise on this right-hand side, and we thought maybe it had a broken axle, drive axle. So we'll show you what this sounds like. So that's what that sounds like. So now we've got to pull the power divider out of this and get a reman for it. So we'll join back up with you here a little later on once we get tearing at this. But what we're going to do is we're going to take the box off so that we can come in over the top. This one ought to be a little easier than the road tractor because we don't have the fifth wheel in the way, and we can kind of sneak a chain down in there and grab it, take it out, drop it on the floor, drag it out from underneath it, slide a new one in, and whatever. So that's what we have going on this. So a mistake of trying to force the unit to move on the frozen ground has cost us probably somewhere in the neighborhood of $6,000 or $7,000. Power divider is going to be about $4 grand, and we had a couple $1,000s worth of drive shaft work between carrier bearings, drive yokes from the transmission, U-joints, and whatever else like that. So we're going to slam this drive axle back in there. We're going to very carefully drive it out the door here so as not to do any more damage to that power divider. We'll take the box off just to make things easier here, and we'll get on working on this. Well, today is the day we find out whether or not that fitting on the top radiator tank there is going to hold up to the 3M panel bonding stuff that we put on it. What we had to do was we drilled this hole out where this 5/16 hose goes on to, threaded the hole, put a brass fitting in there, and then we glued it with that 3M panel bonding stuff. Kind of works like JB Weld. So we're going to get this tractor pulled out of here. Got to get the box off that truck 10. A little bit of a tight fit here. Alright, now we can get this box taken care of on this truck here and get it over into this bay. Another thing that we have to work on here is the turbo on truck 18. The turbo is locked up on it, so we've got this over in this other bay here, and we're going to have to get a turbo for it, get it on there. We don't have to do any work to the exhaust manifold, providing that the studs, or the nuts rather, providing they loosen up and come off of the turbo, we should be able to leave that exhaust manifold right on there. That's not leaking or anything like that. So last week we ended up putting a new exhaust manifold on truck 10, which is the same engine as this, C12, same damn thing. So, but this one's actually 4 years older. So we're going to get after things here, and it's raining out, so it's a nice time to be in the shop. Well, we're just taking our time here getting box slid off of there. There's a winch down in the bottom. We're using gravity to slide the box off. And the truck is just kind of rolling forward here on its own. So that's the task at hand for today. Alright, we're going to try to do our best with keeping up with what's going on here with these different jobs, but Jared is working on getting this power divider out of truck 10. We've got truck 8 in here for an oil change, and we have discovered that there is engine oil going into the coolant. So we're going to pull this out, pull one of the other ones in. We've got to do a brake job on truck 9, but see, we've got that going on there. So we hope this is just an oil cooler, because this engine has been rebuilt only about 100 hours ago. And if it's not the oil cooler, it's going to be the head gasket. So he's got the drive line out. They're going to pull wheels off, just because we have to have those off anyways, because we want to pull these hubs and redo the bearings. They've got to undo some air lines here so that that differential can come out the front. And we're working on the turbo on truck 18 here, so we'll show you what that looks like once I get a little bit more done on it. But he's unhooking the drive shaft that goes between the front and rear differential. Then they've got to get the yoke off the back of this differential so that the shaft will come right out through now from the back side to the front side. Oh, we need a torque arm there. That's bad. So we're just going through these trucks and getting them ready to go for first cutting here. Good thing it's raining and wet, because we got a lot of odds and ends to do here. Well, we're gaining on things here, but everything is a little difficult. Nate's having to heat up a couple of them lug nuts to get the wheel nuts off. Jared has the nut off the pinion yoke here, but he's having a little trouble getting the actual yoke off of the rear of the differential. So the differential's got a little wiggle to it because of that torque arm bushing that's bad, and we've got to try to muscle that yoke off before he can unbolt the front, because that shaft has to come out through the back end of that differential case. So we're not even really sure if we should even have to do the bearings on these outer wheel hubs, but we're going to do them anyways because this truck didn't even get driven only a couple hundred yards after that power divider was destroyed. So that's why we're removing the rear wheels, plus the power divider is going to come out of there a lot easier through this little window here than if we had the wheels on there. So we might have to get after that with a couple of feeders, but I don't. That looks like that's coming. I don't have a pinion puller. I should get one. Truck 8 is out the door. That's got to come back in. Truck 9's in getting an oil change. This box was supposed to get taken off this winter, and it did not get replaced. It's got tail lights that are rotted out of the back of it, and Jason's going to put a quick bracket on each side so that we could get functional lights back on there. We've got to do brakes on the rear axle, and I think he's got one up on the front steer axle. So we'll show you the trouble here in a minute that I've come into. Got the yoke off. That's good. We'll show you the problems that I've got with that turbo here in a second.
Have a yoke puller now, or
pinion puller? Well, we'll have to get Tiger Tool to send us one. So different guys have made them before, but the other thing you can do, being that we're rebuilding that or having that differential worked out, we could heat that up and not have to worry about bearings or seals or anything. So let's show you what we've got going on with this turbo here now. Alright, we'll show you what we have going on here. There's 4 studs in that exhaust manifold that hold this turbo on, and I very carefully heated each one of them up, and they all came very gracefully. However, the last one did not. That bottom one down on that back side there, that one twisted off. So we're gonna at least have to dig that one out, and I might have to actually take this exhaust manifold off just to be able to get it on the bench in order to get them studs out of there. If I'm replacing one, I might as well replace all of them. So this job is turning into be maybe a little bit more than what I originally anticipated on, but that goes with the territory here. We're also going to replace the exhaust pipe back on through to, there's another section of flex pipe here, right there. So we're going to go new from right there forward. That flex pipe looks like it's not going to last too long, so I'm going to at least replace the flex pipe pieces. I have to see what that piece is there. Piece right there is like, and then the piece that bolts on to the turbo itself is real thin. So this piece here needs replaced. So we're just going to lift this turbo off of there, and we'll have to start welding some stuff on there to see if we can't dig them studs out. We might be able to just weld a nut on there, heat up the manifold. Off of there. So we have to take this elbow off too before I forget that. So like I said, I'll get the welder over here, and you can see that one stud there on the back is a little short. But it might surprise us. It might pull itself right out of the exhaust manifold, and that might save me from having to take the exhaust manifold off. Alright, it took quite a bit to get this power divider out. We were caught. We couldn't figure out why. So we finally got it out, and this is what things look like here. So here is the ring gear with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Got 6 teeth broken on the ring gear. And then turn that yoke on the front there. And then we've got a tooth missing up back again. We've got a tooth missing on the actual pinion itself. So when that pinion come around, every time it hit that spot in the ring gear, in the spot in the ring gear where the teeth were missing, and it just kind of catastrophically screwed itself. And then here are all the pieces. Now, because this truck wasn't going 50, 60 miles an hour down the road, it kind of left all those pieces intact down in the bottom of the differential case. This just didn't have time to do that kind of thing. So what we feel was going on, we feel these pieces were getting caught against these keepers right here, and it wasn't allowing us to wiggle that out of there. So it took us about 1.5 hours to 2 hours to wiggle that out of place. So we're gonna run this to Fry heavy duty and see if they can get us exchanged out and into a remanufactured power divider. And hopefully in a couple days time here, we've got one that we can throw back into it. Jared's wondering if we really even need to do anything with these bearings on the end of the axles here, because it just did not have time to migrate a bunch of crappy dirty oil out into the outside here. So we might just pull them out, maybe brake clean them, flush them, put them back in there.
Clean the outside, clean the outside.
Yeah, just flush them. I think we'll be fine. We just didn't have, this just didn't get driven at all with the problems that we've got. So we'll be a couple days before we put this back together. So that'll be in a future video here. So truck 9 is coming along pretty good. We've got brakes that we're doing on this back axle, and Jason has done a pretty good job with getting a light bracket back on here, just a makeshift bracket so that we can be safe going down the road. The lights fell out of this because this was all rusted out here, and we're gonna replace this box as soon as we can. I might get a chance to build one this summer, but it's probably gonna be next winter. I've got to build 2 other boxes here right off anyways, or 1 anyhow. So we'll get on this truck 18 here. These guys are going to lift this guy up on there. They're going to tell us how heavy it is. I think they're about 600 pounds. So watch your hands with that. Don't let it get in there. We got a forklift right here and a telehandler right there, but they managed to get it on the pallet.
All right, Tim. This is a good way to get rid of you. Put down the back of the black truck and get out of here.
Alright, so I've welded probably 6 or 8 nuts on this bottom stud here, and I cannot get it off. So we're going to have to put this exhaust manifold over on the bench, and we're going to have to try working on it on a flat surface instead of trying to weld somewhat upside down. Maybe we can get a little better welding job done there, but I've got all these studs out of the exhaust manifold. This is just going to pull off of there. They all came out with ease, so we're going to have to get an exhaust manifold gasket kit for that, and new studs. These studs here, now they're all rusted, and might as well put new ones in. So we'll pull that off, we'll get it over on the bench, and we'll see if we can't dig that stud out, and I might as well replace these other 3 as long as we're at it here. Alright, Jason has his light brackets just about done. He's waiting for a reverse bulb to come for this right hand side here. He's got it all painted up, got the lights in there, and the birds have made a nest, and they are inside this old rotted out light bracket here. So we'll walk over next door here. We'll show you what Jared's working on. Nate took the power divider out to fry. They're going to figure out what they're going to do with that, whether they're going to rebuild it or if they're just going to get a reman. Hopefully they get us a reman and we get going here quickly on that. He also picked up the parts we need to get the brakes back together on truck 9. So Jared's got the Bulldog in here. And we really haven't talked about this truck too much, but he's got a power wire going to the tanker to power the battery on the Dillard tank that he's screwing around with, and we'll just kind of show you this for a brief second here and let him explain what this thing's all about. So what year is this?
This one's an 86.
And this one has, as you can see, it's got a cat engine in it. What is it, a 3406B?
Yeah, it's a 3406B. It's a 4 1/4. This one is air to air. It's not air to water. My other one is air to water. See right here, this one's got an intercooler on the front instead of that water jacket. This is an actual 4 1/4. The air in the air to waters, those were only 400s. And this engine is actually an 85. It's also a 7FB. My other one is a 7FB, and this one must have been just after they went air to air.
No.
Just after they got away from air to water. But
so you guys have seen this truck in some of the videos. He ended up buying this truck from the guy that did some dragline manuring, some draglining for us here back in the fall, and he hasn't yet figured out what he wants to do with it, if he wants to go through and totally restore it or paint it, or if he's just going to run it. But for now, we're just going to run it. Oh, it's got a Kenworth seat in it.
yeah, it's out of a W900.
Yeah. So
it's I guess it's just kind of set up the way that I really want it to be. It's a B model, that's what I wanted. It's got an air ride cab, I wanted to make sure I got that. It's got camelback suspension with the Mack rear ends. For me, if you're gonna buy a Mack, this is what you should get it with. I don't know, it's set up from the front to the back how I want it. It's super short. It does not have a carrier bearing, and it has the really heavy drive shafts in it. There is no carrier bearing between this front end and this transmission. It's just one, just one section, that's it. And it turns real tight. I don't know.
double frame.
Yeah, it looks kind of ratty right now, but it needs work, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Cab's all there. I guess that's the most important part. Won't have to do any patching. There's no real rust anywhere. Oh yeah, this one's also got a galvanized cab. A lot of the Macks came with steel cabs. That was kind of something important to get a cab that wasn't steel.
Yeah, so the galvanized cabs last a lot longer. You can see the floorboards are all solid on it. And he's still got the Freightliner. That's actually sitting over there on the other side of the 6030. And he actually robbed the thermostat housing. Where's that thermostat housing? On the other side?
Yeah, it's on the other side.
He robbed the thermostat housing off of the Freightliner, so he's got to find one of them so he can get that Freightliner going again. So seems like the Freightliner's kind of got a theme going on here. I don't know. So
yeah, I don't know.
But we need a couple more Freightliners, you know that?
Yeah, yeah.
So
I don't mind.
maybe that's to come here shortly. So, well, folks, that is gonna do it for this video. We have still got to get this thing back together, we know, but we did get it down off the jack stands this morning. So it's just been put on the back burner because we had been trying to get everything else that is just ranked a little more important as far as.
Yeah, we're not using this to chisel plow.
No.
As long as it's ready to cut hay, we'll be happy.
Yeah, so we'll be having to ted hay in a couple of weeks here. So that's gonna do it, folks. Thanks for watching, and we will catch you at the next video.